Welcome back to our channel, your ultimate source for everything happening in Genoa City. Today is a fantastic day to dive deep into the latest, most explosive drama unfolding on The Young and the Restless. We have some truly shocking updates that will leave you absolutely breathless as a massive psychological storm is brewing at the Newman Ranch, threatening to tear the family apart. The illusion of a safe sanctuary has finally shattered for Claire Newman, sending shockwaves through the very foundation of Genoa City's most powerful dynasty. For months, Claire believed she had finally found her true home, a haven of protection and unconditional love, after enduring a lifetime of horrific abuse and psychological torment at the hands of her wicked Aunt Jordan. She looked at Victor Newman as her ultimate savior, the fierce patriarch who would shield her from the darkness of the world. However, the gilded cage is beginning to reveal its iron bars. Behind the warm family dinners and the promises of a bright future, a dark and calculated conspiracy has been quietly unfolding. Claire is slowly waking up to a terrifying reality. Victor's embrace is not merely a gesture of familial love, but a suffocating grip designed to control her every move. Will Claire be able to survive this new form of captivity? The grooming process began subtly, masked as vital lessons in business and family loyalty. Victor has been continuously testing Claire's allegiance, assigning her increasingly difficult and morally ambiguous tasks under the guise of preparing her for her rightful place within Newman Enterprises. At first, Claire eagerly accepted these challenges, desperate to prove her worth and solidify her place in the family she had yearned for her entire life. But recently, a deep, unsettling anxiety has taken root in her soul. The tasks Victor demands of her are beginning to cross the boundaries of conventional morality, pushing her to manipulate situations and people in ways that make her stomach churn. She is being asked to prioritize power over compassion and dominance over empathy. How far will Victor push his newly discovered granddaughter before she breaks? The devastating turning point arrived during an otherwise ordinary afternoon at the Newman Ranch. Walking through the dimly lit, opulent hallways of the estate, Claire inadvertently found herself standing outside Victor's heavy mahogany office doors. What she heard echoing from within those walls would alter the trajectory of her life forever. In a cold, calculated tone, she overheard Victor discussing his intricate strategies for manipulating those around him, treating human lives as mere pawns on his grand chessboard. But the most chilling revelation was his explicit discussion about Claire herself. Victor laid out his true intentions. He does not just want to protect Claire. He wants to mold her, to carve away her softness and empathy until she becomes a ruthless, power-hungry mirror image of himself. What happens when a young woman realizes her savior is actually her architect? The crushing weight of this truth hit Claire with the force of a freight train, triggering a cascade of painful memories and deep-seated trauma. She realized with horrifying clarity that Victor's methods, while wrapped in the elegant veneer of wealth and legacy, share a sickening parallel with Aunt Jordan's psychological abuse. Both individuals sought to strip away her autonomy, to rewrite her identity, to serve their own twisted purposes. Aunt Jordan used fear and isolation, while Victor uses wealth, obligation, and the desperate human need for family. Claire found herself standing at the edge of a psychological abyss, staring down into the darkness of the Newman legacy. She is forced to confront the agonizing reality that her bloodline is tainted with an insatiable thirst for control. Can Claire break the generational curse, or is she doomed to inherit the Newman ruthlessness? Desperate for a lifeline, Claire sought counsel from the one person she hoped would understand her turmoil, her mother, Victoria Newman. Claire approached Victoria with a fragile, bleeding heart, hoping to find maternal warmth, a voice of reason, and perhaps a shield against Victor's overwhelming influence. She needed someone to tell her that she could be a Newman without losing her soul, without sacrificing her fundamental morality. She sat in Victoria's pristine, sterile office, pouring out her fears and anxieties about Victor's manipulative tests. She waited for her mother to validate her concerns, to wrap her in a comforting embrace and promise that she would protect her from the patriarch's dark grooming. But what will Victoria's reaction reveal about the true nature of the Newman women? The reflection Claire saw in her mother was more terrifying than any nightmare. Instead of offering comfort, Victoria responded with a cold corporate pragmatism that sent shivers down Claire's spine. Victoria defended Victor's methods, justifying his ruthless manipulation as the necessary cost of protecting the family and maintaining their empire. As Victoria spoke, using the same calculated cadence and icy logic as her father, Claire experienced a horrifying epiphany. Victoria has already been entirely assimilated. She is a carbon copy of Victor, a willing participant in the toxic cycle of power and control. Claire looked into her mother's eyes and saw a chilling preview of her own future if she remained compliant. If she stays on this path, she will become exactly like Victoria. Successful, powerful, and emotionally bankrupt. Where can Claire possibly turn when her own mother is part of the machine? The tension reached its absolute boiling point when Victor, sensing Claire's internal rebellion, decided to accelerate his plans. He cornered Claire, his imposing figure casting a long, dark shadow over her fragile independence. Victor delivered the ultimate, uncompromising ultimatum, a test designed to shatter her remaining defenses and bind her to him forever. He demanded that she choose between her loyalty to the Newman family and her blossoming love for Kyle Abbott. The historical animosity between Victor and the Abbott family is legendary, a blood feud that has spanned decades. For Victor, Claire's connection to Kyle is an unacceptable vulnerability, a leak in the Newman fortress. He coldly instructed Claire to sever all ties with Kyle, to crush her own heart in order to prove that she is a true, undisputed Newman. Will Claire sacrifice her only source of pure happiness to appease the ruthless patriarch? This impossible choice plunged Claire into an agonizing dilemma, tearing her soul in two. Kyle Abbott represents something incredibly precious to Claire, her first taste of genuine, uncomplicated affection. Kyle sees her for who she is, not as a tool to be wielded or a legacy to be shaped. His love is a beacon of light outside the suffocating, toxic bubble of the Newman Empire. Yet, the Newman family represents the biological connection and the sense of belonging she had been starved of for her entire life. To choose Kyle means risking the wrath of the most powerful man in Genoa City and potentially losing the family she just found. To choose Victor means amputating a vital part of her own heart and stepping into a life of endless manipulation. How can a young woman possibly navigate a choice that guarantees catastrophic heartbreak either way? As the deadline for her decision loomed, the ghosts of Claire's past rose up to guide her. She spent hours in agonizing reflection, looking back at the years she spent as a prisoner to Aunt Jordan's madness. She remembered the visceral, suffocating pain of being controlled, of having her voice silenced and her choices stolen. In a moment of profound clarity, Claire realized that submitting to Victor's ultimatum would be the ultimate betrayal of her own soul. She recognized that Victor's demand was not about protecting her. It was about isolating her, ensuring that he remains the sole authority in her life. The decision solidified in her mind with the strength of tempered steel. She will not be a monster, she will not be a pawn, and she will absolutely not allow another person to dictate who she is allowed to love. What bold, dangerous step will Claire take next to secure her freedom? Knowing that she cannot possibly fight Victor Newman's vast resources and overwhelming influence alone, Claire realized she needed to make a strategic, highly covert move. Operating in the shadows, terrified of being intercepted by Victor's pervasive security network, Claire secretly reached out to an old ally. She needed someone who operates outside the Newman sphere of influence, someone who understands the dangerous game Victor plays and can offer her a tangible escape route. The tension of this clandestine communication was palpable. Every phone call and hidden message carrying the risk of absolute ruin if discovered. Claire is systematically building her own defense, gathering the strength and resources necessary to break the chains of Victor's control. Who is this mysterious ally, and will they be powerful enough to shield Claire from the impending Newman wrath? The climax of this psychological warfare culminated in a grand, explosive confrontation within the walls of Victor's executive office. Claire walked through those heavy mahogany doors not as a frightened, submissive granddaughter, but as a woman who has reclaimed her own destiny. The air in the room crackled with electricity as Victor waited for her to yield, fully expecting her to renounce Kyle and pledge her undying loyalty to his empire. Instead, Claire delivered a powerful, unyielding declaration of her independence. She looked the most feared man in Genoa City directly in the eye and explicitly stated the kind of person she intends to be. She rejected his manipulation, she rejected his toxic definition of family loyalty, and she formally refused to be molded into a weapon for his corporate wars. How will the great Victor Newman react to being defied by his own flesh and blood? Victor was left momentarily stunned, a rare crack in his impenetrable armor, as he absorbed the magnitude of Claire's fierce rebellion. The tectonic